Hello, I'm David Hart, Executive Vice President at the Florida Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to another edition of the Florida Chamber's Bottom Line. Our special guest today is the Speaker of the Florida House, Steve Crisafulli. Mr. Speaker, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Speaker, I want to talk about a few of the priorities we worked together on this session, and I want to start with tax cuts. You really set the bar high early on in the regular session as making tax cuts a priority of yours and the Florida House. We certainly shared that goal. Tell us a little bit about the final tax cut package that Floridians will see.
Well, to your point, certainly it was a priority of the House, and the priority was to always have broad-based tax cuts so all of Florida could feel an impact from that. And we feel like the final product certainly delivers that. While it's not what we passed out during regular session, it is a modified version of that, and certainly it's something that is broad-based. CST is an important part of that package. It's the largest recurring portion of that package that will ultimately touch a lot of Floridians. And that was the idea behind the bill, is to make sure that we could have a positive impact on all of Florida's families.
Our view is that targeted tax cuts make Florida more competitive, help spur more economic growth. The package in total was $400 million.
A little over 400, yeah.
And you also included another one of our priorities I want to thank you for, which was the research and development tax credit. Lifting that cap up to $23 million will do a lot of good to bring those high quality, high paying jobs to Florida.
Absolutely, and we agree with you, and that was something that was in our original package, and we wanted to carry that through. And fortunately, the Senate saw that as an important part of the package and came back over from them as well.
Speaking of economic development and bringing jobs to Florida, let's talk for a moment about the economic development toolkit that the state has. I don't think we saw everything we would like to see in terms of a dollar amount going to those programs, but we recognize challenging budget year due to healthcare issues. How much made it in the budget for economic development toolkit? And then I also want to ask you about the Marketing Florida program.
Sure. Well, all total, it was about $65.5 million, but that includes the marketing money, and I know that was certainly an initiative of the Chamber, and we were able to get $10 million in at the end of the day. Was it what all of us wanted from the standpoint of a total package? No, but it was certainly a compromise position that we found with the Senate, and something that we could put out there on the table to allow y'all to have the tools, as well as the governor and his team at Enterprise Florida, to go out and attract business to this great state.
Over many years, the business community, and in partnership with the Florida legislature and current and past governors, have really built a world-class business climate. What's unique about our business climate, though, is we may not be the best at telling our own story. And it's one of the reasons the Florida Chamber's members felt it was so important to fund, for the first time, marketing dollars to go tell that story. And I want our viewers to know that $10 million that's in this year's budget would not have happened without you, Speaker. And I just want to publicly thank you for your personal efforts to make sure we got some funding for that important program.
I appreciate that, and I will tell you that was a focus of the House, to make sure that we did give the toolbox to the governor and his team to get out there and attract business to the state, but recognizing that even more importantly than just the $10 million, $8.5 million of that is recurring. So I think that's a base for us. I think that's a foundation for us to work from. I know that we're still way behind other states with regard to that type of commitment, but I can sit here and tell you with certainty that we're committed to seeing the effects of that moving forward.
I also want to talk about water, another very important shared priority of the Florida Chamber and our members, as well as you and the Florida House. And we appreciated the opportunity to work with you and Representative Caldwell early on. You reached out to the Chamber and said you wanted the business community's views, and I appreciate you giving us the chance to have that input. And the Florida House's product was a very, very thoughtful, long-term, comprehensive plan for Florida's water to make sure we could continue to grow economically and protect our precious quality of life. We know from looking at the Florida Chamber Foundation's statistics that Florida will see such an increase in our population growth that we'll have 9 billion gallons a day needed of water by 2030. That's a 28% increase. And so we applaud you for taking such a good look at this. What can our members do to help you and make sure this issue gets addressed next session?
Continue to advocate and educate. And while it sounds simple, it's not. It's an issue that has brought a lot of conversations to the process from all sides. But I think what's important is to make sure that members in both chambers understand how important this issue is for, to your point, the future of our state, and knowing that we have the demands that we do on this precious natural resource. We need to make sure that we do what we can at our level to protect it and make sure that we have a plan moving forward. So over the next several months, we'll be back here again shortly. I think it's important to continue to educate the members of both chambers on this issue. Having said that, I think we certainly had a great opportunity this year to pass a piece of legislation. We sent it over, I think, on the third or fourth day of session in the regular session, and a lot of conversations took place over in the Senate on the issue. So I feel like everybody's well educated from the standpoint of what we put in play, but I certainly believe it's important to continue to advocate for that piece of legislation over the next several months.
Last question I have is about healthcare issues. That was probably the hottest single issue of the session. It was the most difficult issue of the session. And from the Florida Chamber's point of view, we had a Senate that was by and large focused on expansion of coverage. And the Florida House wanted to take a much closer look at all the cost drivers in the system. How do we bring down costs for employers and small businesses and families? So where do you see that issue going forward? We have a big Supreme Court case in King versus Burwell that could be announced any time, could have a huge impact on Florida. What should we be doing in that area?
Well, I think y'all should continue where you started. And you started with advocacy for driving down costs and increasing opportunities for access, and certainly that's something that we were focused on in the special session. Our Senate partners didn't feel that they had the time necessary to vet those issues, and are looking at the opportunity of potentially coming together with a committee of sorts, a joint committee that we can work on those together, and we're certainly open to that discussion and have been in several media availabilities and have said that. So we're always here to have that conversation. We can't force them to hear our issues that are important to us in their chamber, but certainly those are the issues that y'all see as an opportunity to drive down costs. It's something that we see as an opportunity, and we continue to look forward to having that dialogue moving forward.
Speaker, I want to thank you for the partnership and all the great work you did with us and our members this session. We appreciate you being here. We look forward to working with you next year. And to our members, thank you for joining us on another edition of the Florida Chamber's Bottom Line.